What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn, and today we are joined also by our other co-host, Anthony Perry. And today we're going to be talking about, will the real Arik Armstead and Dee Ford please stand up? Anthony, they had a not-so-great performance, to say the least. Do you think that they'll step that up, and what do you think the reason for that was?
Well, first and foremost, looking at Dee Ford coming into this game, he did not look like in good physical shape. I don't know if he added weight. I don't know if he added muscle because he looked like he could be cut off in between a interior defensive lineman and the defensive end. He looked very thick, and just his get off on snaps was so slow. This guy, I mean, he didn't look like anything he did last season when his get off was a lot faster. And you can't give me the excuse that, oh, he didn't have Buckner, so that didn't help him improve his own pass rush. I don't care who's next to you. You have to just go out there and ball. And we didn't see the Dee Ford that we did last season when he was healthy. And I'm very concerned about that. And I get it. It's the offseason. He didn't get any preseason games, quote unquote. He only had training camp. He had to shake off a lot of the rust. But again, you're being paid all this money to be one of the premier pass rushers on our team. And to get 55% of snaps and have almost no impact on the game, that kind of hits home to me. So to say that he's going to show up to the next game, I don't think so, guys. I really don't think so. As for Arik Armstead, though, I think Arik Armstead has a better shot of improving his own game. He had a little bit of pressure here and there. He was kind of penetrating, but he just wasn't hitting home. And I don't mean hitting home as in getting to Kyler Murray and sacking him. I mean hitting home as in beating his blocks. We didn't see him do that all that often yesterday. He had his flashes and he has moments, and that's Matt's favorite word, is flashing. But overall, he didn't put it all together. And more often than not, he was very ineffective. And I liked what I saw from Kerry Hyder. I liked what I saw from Kinlaw, but I should be saying I liked what I saw from Dee Ford and Arik Armstead, not they were complete non-factors in this game. So in my opinion, I think Armstead has a better shot of improving his game over Dee Ford because I don't know if it's just Dee Ford doesn't have confidence in that knee. I don't know if he just doesn't have confidence in this game at the moment. Maybe he is rusty. Maybe he's still hurt. We don't know. This team is very transparent when it comes to injuries, and we saw what they did last season. They managed Dee Ford snaps, and again, they did that this past. And you got people like David Lombardi saying, oh, well, that is a big improvement over last season. Well, yeah, but this guy's had an entire offseason to recover, and he's at training camp where he's been saying, I feel good, I feel great, I'm ready to go out there. Where was he? Well, he did not show up to the game. And again, I don't think he has as good of a shot as Arik Armstead to show up next week.
Yeah, it was unfortunate because this defensive line looked completely different than they did last season. And I understand that they had trouble containing mobile quarterbacks going back to last year, but I would hope that they would have made a little bit of adjustment or an improvement this season, knowing that's their biggest area of weakness. I mean, looking back to the Super Bowl, those Mayhem scrambles, that was their kryptonite. I mean, being able to extend plays, and obviously we can talk about holding all day long, but part of it also is even Lamar Jackson, twice with Kyler Murray, twice with Russell Wilson. No matter what they do, I mean, even Jared Goff made them look silly with those boot rollouts. So it's like, come on, man. I was hoping that they would have done a little more. And Dee Ford, yeah, he looked thick. That's what he looked. He looked thick with two C's. And I was like, what is up with this guy? Because he's out here talking, just like you said, he's out here talking like he's improved. He's ready to go. He's healthy. The 49ers restructured his contract. And then he kind of goes out there and lays an egg. And, all this talk about Arik Armstead, on the other hand, is, no, it wasn't just a ball out for a contract year. This is who he actually is. He's finally, feels comfortable playing his own position in his own shoes in the NFL. This is him to stay. And he didn't really do much either. So I don't know. I was kind of, disappointed in what we saw from the outing from both of them. Matt, is that right to be disappointed? Or do you think that there was more there that they played well and it shouldn't really show up?
No, they didn't play well. The only guy that really popped off the tape to me was Nick Bosa, who got pressure early. And then when they figured out nobody else was doing anything, they were able to shift more protection over to Bosa's side and kind of take him out of the game. Really, the issue for me, and I'm going to push back a little bit on Dee Ford. I know that he had the offseason surgery and he did come in a little thick. He also had that, that weird thing they were talking about, like a calf Achilles tweak kind of thing. And so I think that might be playing a part in the whole get off thing. And it's just going to be a matter of him working himself into shape, which is unfortunate. When you have lower body injuries, it really limits what you can do. As far as Arik Armstead, I don't like to see And I realize they have to do it because they have so many guys, but I don't like to see Solomon Thomas and, Kerry Hyder Jr. and stuff rotating to the inside while pushing Armstead out to the edge. I don't think that Armstead is good on the end. I think he needs to play inside. He's not fast enough and he doesn't have enough bend to really affect the edge the way that some of the other guys can. With D Ford off his game, you're kind of limited. And I really do think that D Ford being limited in that regard and Arik Armstead not being effective on the end is why they're going to take a look at Ziggy Ansah again, because they need another guy that can set the edge. Zach, to your point of them not being able to stop Mahomes and Murray, that to me is less about the defensive line and the players on the defensive line as it is about scheme, where the 49ers are running a cover 3 with a 4-man rush. They're dropping guys back into coverage, and then you're allowing essentially these athletes to work in space. And once they're in space, they can make guys miss because, sometimes zone integrity is not the strong suit of these 49ers linebackers and the defensive backs. We've seen it with, Quan Alexander, where he lost track of the line of scrimmage and got completely turned around on a Kyler Murray scramble on 3rd and 17. There are issues with their zone integrity and some of their awareness in open space. So to me, it's less about the line, because when you're rushing 4, your job is to pin your ears back and get after the quarterback and collapse the pocket. If the quarterback escapes up through the pocket, now it's on your back 7 to take care of that because you're out of position. So to me, it's less about the defensive line itself and more about the scheme that they're running, and Robert Saleh is going to have to really tweak that. But we need D Ford to get into shape, stay healthy, and justify the $80+ million that we're paying him. And we need Arik Armstead to play up to what he did last year to earn himself a contract. People saying, oh, we should have kept DeForest Buckner. That was never in the cards. DeForest Buckner is now the 2nd highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL behind Aaron Donald. It wasn't going to happen. There wasn't enough cap space for us to do that and sign anybody of note. We couldn't have re-upped George Kittle with that type of commitment. It just wouldn't have worked based on the salary cap. And I know the salary cap's kind of funky, and, Kansas City's been able to manipulate the hell out of it, and so has the Rams. But in terms of, we got guys coming up that we need to take care of, so to me, they need to play up to their contract, or, they need to get gone. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I was hearing that all day yesterday too. After the game, they should have kept Buckner. And yeah, it wasn't an option for the 49ers. The writing was on the wall. They didn't have that money, to pay him. So
right.
they did the best they could do, and Armstead was the best.
Let's be clear too. They played all those rushing quarterbacks last year with Buckner, and they still gave up contained. So it's not like Buckner would have made a huge difference. So the people calling for Buckner, they're just saying things. It's the same people who are like, it's Nick Mullins' season because Jimmy Garoppolo, missed a couple of passes or whatever. It's going to happen, players have bad games. This was a bad game for the team all the way around, front to back. So nobody was really on point except for maybe like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, but those guys are always there. So going forward, if they clean it up, it's going to look a lot better, especially against teams like the Jets and the Giants.
Yeah. And that's going to be my next question, Anthony, is what do you want to see them, both of these guys, do next week against the Jets to show that it wasn't a fluke and that they actually did come to play this year?
According to PFF, Arik Armstead and D Ford combined for 3 hurries. I don't want to see 2 guys combined to make over $100 million get 3 hurries in an entire game when you're already playing a very atrocious offensive line in the Arizona Cardinals. And don't get me wrong, you watch the game, those guys, the entire unit on the defensive line was getting pressure throughout the day. But to see guys like Bosa stand out, okay, that makes sense. But when I see more contribution from Solomon Thomas, Kerry Hyder, DJ Jones, and Javon Kinlaw, and that's no disrespect to them. It's just we should be highlighting D Ford and Arik Armstead, not those guys in particular. And I think it's great that we're highlighting them, but I don't think it's great that we have to have these kind of conversations about two guys who are eating up more than 15 to 20% of our salary cap, when quite frankly, salary cap is already going to be tight next season as it is, and we're going to need to roll over as much money as possible. So going into the Jets game, I do expect a better game in which we do face a more natural pocket passer in Sam Darnold, who already has another questionable offensive line as it is. And they shouldn't come into this game just like this game thinking, oh, we got this. This game's in the bag. It's nothing. Because quite frankly, we saw all that swagger from those guys in the first quarter. And then when the offense wasn't moving and the defense had to get out there too much, we saw that excitement and that energy kind of slowly dwindle as they're going, oh, man, we got to get out in this field. And yeah, they're already in smoky condition, so it's hard enough as it is. But when you have terrible offensive efficiency like that, you got to go out there and make up for it. And they had games last season where Garoppolo may not have been at his best, and the defense did show up. I'm not crediting that to just Buckner, like Matt's saying. Buckner in this game would have made a difference. The entire defense is what makes a difference, and we didn't really see that after the first quarter for the rest of the game. So going into this Jets game, you guys, I want to see them get after and get home against Sam Darnold. I want to see D Ford's get off improve, because quite frankly, he had one of the fastest snap to go times in all the NFL, because he has a fantastic first step off the line. Arik Armstead may not be that kind of pass rusher, but when he does shed blocks, he is efficient at hurrying the quarterback, and he can be that kind of guy, even without Buckner. So going into this game, I just want to see more energy from them. I want to see more consistency, because that was the biggest problem yesterday, was inconsistency. And I don't want to see that from my $100+ million duo. I may not want to see sacks from these guys, but I want to see pressure. I want to see them getting home so they can open up sacks for guys like Bosa and eventually Kerry Hyder and Jones and so on and so forth. So Zach, Matt, these guys need to hit home. I want to see a better first step, and I just need to see more consistent energy from these guys, because after the first quarter, it felt very lackadaisical.
Yeah, I want to see them. I want to see them haunt that fucking house. That's what they need to do. Haunt that house. Make Sam Darnold see all the ghosts that he can handle. So move Arik Armstead back inside, because what he does well is collapse that interior line and push the pocket into the quarterback. Sam Darnold's not mobile. You push the pocket into the quarterback, and then you're going to set the table for people like Nick Bosa and D Ford and, the edge rushers that they have. So
I want to comment on that real quick too.
Yeah, early and often, just get in Darnold's face, make him see ghosts.
Solomon Thomas on the inside, Javon Kinlaw, DJ Jones, and even Kevin Givens all were doing their job. They should have had open opportunities, D Ford and Armstead. And I get it, it's a rotation, so they're not going to all be what Buckner was. But there shouldn't have been any excuse for D Ford and Arik Armstead to have the games they did yesterday. No excuse. I'm not going to use rust as an excuse. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to use the offseason injury as an excuse. These guys had all training camp to get healthy and get ready. And they had all offseason to brag about how well they're going to play. And we didn't see that. There should be no excuses going into this week.
Yeah, it went real quick. Touch on your point, Anthony, from dancing in the first quarter and hyped up to hands on your hips, out of breath. And it was evident in their performance. But guys, I think that's going to do it for us today. We want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, like this video. Make sure you comment below. What do you want to see from Arik Armstead and D Ford moving forward? And thanks again for tuning in.
Go ahead and click the bell for notifications. We're dropping videos each and every day of the week. And until next time, go Niners.